Well, welcome back. This is our monthly job market update. I am Kaisha McCrea with Growing Perspectives Career Consulting.
And I'm Curt Hammitt with Propel Your Career Transition Coaching.
Awesome. So, you know our spill. Typically, we come together every month. This month, we decided as we're wrapping up summer, we're going to share this update on the last Thursday in the month of August versus the fourth Thursday. But rest assured, we're coming back to our fourth Thursday in September. So this week, we have a great lineup. We're going to talk about what we're hearing in the market. We will talk about any trends. And then we have a spotlight. And our spotlight this week will be Curt. And I'm not going to mention the title, he will share the title. And then we will wrap it up with any final thoughts that we have. And once again, as always, please share with us if you want to hear anything else that we haven't covered, or you have new topics of interest, or if you have questions about what we covered today. Simply put it in the chat, or you can message either one of us directly. But we would love to hear from you, comment, respond, and let's get started, Curt. So what are you hearing in the market, in the job place?
Okay, thanks, Kaisha. Yes, good day, good afternoon, everybody. I have pulled some notes from a recent Forbes business update, and this is what I'm going to share with you today. The good news is that 1.6 million new jobs are coming out in 2023 since last year at this time. So we've made a step change in hiring more people by sending out new jobs. However, there are still millions of people at risk. Some of the industries, some of the functions, such as tech and finance jobs, are getting scarce in that space. Both Microsoft and Oracle report negative growth. That's a way for saying they're hiring less. Manufacturing, utility firms, when you think of utility, electric, gas, telecom, whatever, those firms are cutting back. Ford Motor Company, Tyson Foods, we have Tyson Foods near us here, not too far from Richmond. They are cutting jobs. Companies have announced plans to cut 417,500 jobs. That is 4 times over the same period from last year. So it's 4 times.
That's a large amount.
Per job. That is a large amount. This is the highest number of cuts since the 2020 lockdown, when 1.4 million cuts were reported. Amazing. What jobs are growing right now are more in the lower paying sectors, such as in leisure and hospitality. Right. So if you're looking for an entry position, if you're looking for some transitional role right now, you might want to check into leisure as well as hospitality. Things to be on the lookout in the next coming days, weeks, and months is there is going to be less hiring. So the competition for those open jobs will be continue to stay fierce. There will be an uptick in some layoffs, as I mentioned already, some of those companies that are laying off. Unemployment is on the rise from 3.7%, and they're forecasting, this is Forbes, is forecasting a 4.8% unemployment by the end of 2023. That means about 2 million will lose their job before the end of the year. Another another trend is facing those new graduates. Those 2023 graduates this year are facing a onboarding process that is extending to the end of the year, and some are going as far as 2024. So people like Deloitte, KPMG, Boston Consulting Group, Kinsey, they're not bringing some of their recruits back until 2024. So this is the gap year that no one planned for. I know when my son graduated high school and went out to college, and then when he was going into college, he did take a gap year between high school and college, but this is the gap year from college graduation to onboarding for the first job. So
Understood.
it's something that you need to be aware of, you need to be planning for, and things will turn around. Many companies are still holding the rein on those jobs, those commitments that they make to the students, which is good. So
Absolutely.
that's the light at the end of the tunnel, that there is still hope, and that those people that are coming on board after recently getting their degree, will be starting shortly.
No, thank you for sharing those updates. And I would say, when I hear that, you and I, we have been in the industry for several years, and we've seen different trends and waves to come through. So for me, this is not the first time that I've heard of some of the slowing after the graduates are out in the marketplace and maybe having to wait 6 months to start, or a slower hiring season. So I do echo what you said, go ahead and prepare yourself. If you're caught in that group, of what do you do during that time? And I would encourage you to maximize and best utilize that gap year, whether or not that is refreshing on some skills, networking with people in your new job, learning about that culture, so that when the time comes for you to start that job, you're very much even more prepared, and you've built some relationships, which will go a long way when you start that new job. But my previous experience, Curt, has been that the trends, they do settle out. So this is this year, next year may improve for the next generation or the next group that's entering the workforce. But I think this is a great point that you mentioned for people to be aware of.
I like what you said about maybe getting additional training or
Yes,
honing your skills. If you're in
yes,
IT, find, some kind of a gig job or short-term job that you could do over 3 months or 4 months. I would rather have you see you do that than go into some lesser role that has nothing to do with what you want to do. So one of the things that the recruiters and the hiring managers will ask is, how did you deal with this time? And so if they know that you were doing what you could to get another certification, to do some work for some nonprofits, that's always welcome.
absolutely, absolutely. And I will share just a few things that I'm hearing in the marketplace, some trends. So I'm looking at different articles recently related to resumes. So one article I saw recently was it was in CNBC, and this was a ex-Google recruiter. This article came out in August, early August, and it was just reminding people to definitely include a section devoted to your interests. So your skills, of course, should be there, your experience, your education, but they want to make sure that you show those other interests that you have, and it's okay to include that in your resume. And the title, the recruiter says, and I quote, "I'm not looking to hire robots." So they want you to include what you're involved in. I often share with my clients, I ask them, do you have any community involvement, any groups you're a part of? You want to highlight those on your resume. So I want to mention that. And I also want to mention, I think, Curt, you mentioned maybe 2 months ago about the number of remote jobs are reducing. So that area is becoming more competitive. So I happened to be watching a morning show this week, and there was some guidance given by a career professional. If you're notified that, yes, you need to come back to the office, how should you best respond? So, what I would encourage professionals to be prepared if your group hasn't returned to the office. If you're asked the question about returning, be prepared of how you would want to respond. And Curt, you just mentioned the workforce is becoming more competitive. There are some reductions that are projected before the end of the year. The number of remote jobs are becoming more competitive as well. So I want to highlight that trend. And of course, we're hearing that more companies are moving to more of a hybrid structure. So a few days in the office, a few days at home. So just be prepared if you haven't been asked to return to the office, what would be your response? And if you would prefer to continue to work remote, what is your competitive advantage? So be prepared to communicate that if you request to continue to stay working remote. So those would be the two things that I would say. And then I would also want to just chime in that with the reductions that are forecast that Curt, you just mentioned, I was so pleased to see a recent colleague this week land their next job. So I always like to remind people that though the forecast is tightening in certain segments more than others, professionals are still able to land in their fields. In some cases, it's taking longer than expected. You know, I've had some clients get to the final interview, which is phenomenal, but they didn't land that role. So they're still in the market, but they were able to get to that final interview and get great feedback. So I would say the length of time to land is increasing some, depending on the industry, but clients are still able to land, and professionals, I'm seeing professionals still landing. So with that, the reminder is continue to do the networking, continue to look at positions that are really much, very much in your wheelhouse. You have a skill set there, network, I can't say enough, and continue to apply and increase your visibility in your job search. And so those would be the trends that I would say. Yes, it's taken a little longer to land in some industries, but it is still possible. And I'm seeing it from clients, and I'm seeing it from other professionals that I can observe on LinkedIn. I'm still seeing new jobs being announced. So those are the updates that I have. Curt, any comments before you get into the spotlight?
Okay, yeah, I'd like to respond back to one thing you said. If you are currently working remote and they want you back in the office, well, you have a stopgap, maybe. How about 3 months hybrid until I can figure out what my next step is? You know, if you have been a contributor and continue to be one, you'll continue to be a contributor as in a hybrid mode. But some parents may have issues with childcare now that school started again, some issues with maybe older family members that they need to take care of and get their plans in place, and they just can't go from working remotely back to on-site without maybe a step change there. So speak your interest and make your interest known to your employer, because they may be able to bend a little.
That's great. That's awesome. That's awesome. So now the spotlight for this week, Curt.
All right. Well, thanks, Kaisha. I am going to talk about something that you may not have heard about, but it's been in my LinkedIn posts for a while now, and it's called grandternity. Well, what is grandternity? Well, you know what paternity leave is or maternity leave is. This is grandparent leave, paid time off for the grandparent or grandparents to bond with that new grandchild.
Awesome.
So that's how I define it. It's offering paid time off for grandparents to bond with their grandchildren. Now, who's doing this? Well, believe it or not, Cisco and HireVue have been offering paid time off since 2016 and 2017. So that's been going on for a while. Some newer companies, IBM, Deloitte, Ogilvy, and Mercer are beginning to offer that in their benefit package. What type of grandternity leave are they offering? Well, the time ranges will varies by company. It could be a couple days. It could be maybe 3 days total. It could be a couple weeks, possibly even 2 weeks of paid time off. Maybe you could extend that over the entire year. versus having to take it all at once. So when you're in there negotiating a contract with your new company and they don't have a grandternity benefit, that might be something that you bring up and have discussion. So why all of a sudden is this coming to the forefront as possibly a benefit? Well, workforce demographics, employees over 50, age 50, about a third of our workforce in the US falls into that category, and it's going to keep increasing. Workforce is changing. There's a growing need for older workers. There's 150 million jobs will shift to workers over 55 by the year 2030. So in 7 years, 150 million jobs over that time frame will be worked by people over 55. And that was done by a new global study from Bain and Company. There was a new post that came out. World Economic Forum just put out a nice video from Bain and Company, and there's some specifics, more specifics than what I can go into here. But please look at my recent post, and you'll see that reshare of their article. Bain predicts older and experienced workers will make up more than a quarter of the workforce by 2031. And that's according to a global study of the world's 7 advanced economies. Those countries are the US, the UK, France, West Germany, Italy, Canada, and Japan. They're called the G7 or the Global 7. Why are companies doing this? Well, it ties very nicely into their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, their core values. It deals with employee well-being. If you are a grandparent and this is your first grandchild, as it wasn't in my case, and my son and his wife live 2 hours away, so it's a little distance to travel, but not a lot. So we were grateful to be able to be with our grandson a couple times now throughout this whole first year. It contributes to positive company culture, knowing that process is there, knowing that grandparents thoroughly enjoy the time that they spend with them. It increases retention rates. If you are in that category of being a grandparent or soon will be a grandparent, you may want to consider staying with the company a couple more years or even longer based on the kind of benefit package that they offer to people over 50, 55. And then it does mitigate recruitment cost. Recruitment is expensive for companies, and they want to hold on to the people that they do hire. So if they can hold on to you versus having to go out and hire someone new to replace you, then their recruiting cost will go down. And again, it is a hiring perk. I just see this, that having a grandternity benefit will attract the older worker. The older worker is highly experienced with a skill set and knowledge that's really priceless and highly valuable to an organization. So if you are contemplating a change, or if you're contemplating a family change in the near future, and you are looking to decide, am I going to spend 2 days a week, with my new grandchild, or am I going to quit my job and spend more time? So consider your options and be very, very open with your employer, as well as with your potential employer, on your desires that are coming up in your family needs. Okay, that's all I had,
Awesome.
Kaisha.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Curt. When you first mentioned that topic to me, I thought, what is that? So I definitely see the need and the value, and it was great to hear that some companies already started doing this back in 2016, and more companies are now providing that type of benefit to their employees. So thank you for that great insight.
Sure. I would say, you can go into #grandternity and you'll see all the posts that are up there, and you can, yourself do your own research.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, we thank you for joining us again. I'm Kaisha McCrea with Growing Perspectives, Career Consulting.
Curt Hammitt with Propel Your Career. career transition coaching in Richmond, Virginia.
Awesome. So we thank you for the time that you've taken to listen to us for this month's job updates and job market insights. And we ask you again, comment. Let us know if there's other topics of interest you want to hear about. And just tell us what you thought about this month's topics. Have a wonderful day, and we look forward to coming back next month on the fourth Thursday in September.
Awesome.